favor and blessing as we execute the responsibilities you have bestowed on us. We seek your guidance to treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation in so just, fair, and faithful a manner as to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country and of those whose interests you have committed to our charge. Amen. Thank you. We can have Robert Gishangi Kabage. Thank you. Oh, okay. It's not Robert. Huh?
Robert Maina.
That's, oh, okay. Sorry, it's Robert Maina that we expect this morning. Robert Maina Ndungu. I think Gishangi withdrew. Thank you. Welcome, Maina. Please have a seat. Thank you. It's a pleasure having you. My name is Nelson Makanda. I am the chair of this selection panel. We are grateful to you for showing interest in the advertised position for member of the Iebc Commission. And we want to congratulate you for being shortlisted. Thank you. I'd like to invite my colleagues here to introduce themselves, and then we will come to you. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Maina.
Good morning.
My name is Linda Kiome. I serve this panel as the vice chair, and I want to take this opportunity to welcome you for your interview session.
Thank you.
Bwana Ndungu, good morning.
Good morning.
Jina langu ni Andrew Tanui, mwanachama wa chopo hili la uteuzi, na karibu.
Asante.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Caroline Kituku, karibu.
Good morning, Robert.
Good morning, Prof.
My name is Adam Solo, a member of this selection panel.
Thank you.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Nicodemus Bore, karibu sana.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Fatuma Ali Saman, a member of the panel. Please feel welcome.
Thank you.
Good morning, Dr. Ndungu.
Good morning.
Na karibu sana.
Asante.
My name is Koki Muli Grinyo, and I'm a member of the panel.
Asante.
Good morning, Dr. Robert.
Good morning.
My name is Evans Misati, a member of this selection panel, and we welcome you.
Thank you.
Now, Robert, we come to you, and we request that you introduce yourself to us, highlight the things that are significant in your profile for us to know and for the role that you have applied for. Allow us to know whether you are a member of any professional group or society, and if you have received any award or honor in that regard. Welcome.
Thank you very much. My name is Robert Maina Ndungu. I'm 40 years old. I come from Laikipia County, born and brought up in Maina slum. They call it slum. I'm a criminologist, a security expert with specialty in victimology. I have 18 years experience in civil service, having worked with DCI for 12 years and worked as a lecturer for 6 years, teaching at Laikipia University and Park University. In my career as a DCI officer, I have worked in several departments, and this is the experience that I'm bringing on board. I have worked as a general investigator in Western Region, in Nairobi. I've worked as a detective trainer with DCI. I've worked as an instructor with National Intelligence Service, a trainer with military police and general police agencies in Kenya. I have worked with Central Bank of Kenya as a fraud investigator. I've worked as a leading investigator in ghost workers investigation in Kenya, where I helped the Kenyan government to recover millions of money which were being lost through the issues of ghost workers. I've worked with Nyumba Kumi initiative, where I was the brain behind the Nyumba Kumi model, where we were trying to develop a formula in which we can combat terrorism and issues of insecurity in the country. My interest in issues of election and governance in Kenya came back in 2007 when I was a student at Masinde Muliro University. This is the time when Kenya was facing the post-election violence, 2007, 2008. I was just a student. I was taking my bachelor and at the same time my diploma. I graduated with my bachelor's degree with a first-class honor and my diploma with a distinction. And that's when I developed the interest in issues of governance and security. And my big question was, when will we start doing it right when it comes to issues of election and governance in the country? And my research was based on, I looked into issues of crimes and politics in my bachelor's, and I was developing an idea. My argument was, which are these crimes that are related with politics? I went further to dig deeper because I wanted to do a research and understand what is this that is affecting our country. So I decided to do another master's in disaster management, where I was looking into the issues of restorative justice. I was looking at issues of how can our country heal? And my argument in my research, in my master's, was the clinical theory idea. Kenya is a country which has faced post-election violence. We are speaking of national cohesion. How can we have a national cohesion when people have not forgiven each other? So I was looking at clinical theory and I was arguing it's the high time we first forgive so that we can heal. So this triggered me to do another master's, and I proceeded to University of Birmingham in UK and a Commonwealth scholarship. And I did a master's in conflict, security, and development. And this is at the time when Kenya was calling for reforms. And I was a police officer by then. So I decided to look into the issues of security sector reform. And I was looking at issues of local ownership and issues of inclusivity when it comes to issues of change and transformation on issues of security and governance in Kenya. When I was doing that, I developed an idea that now, when I was a police officer, I was both a primary victim, a secondary victim, and a tertiary victim. So I thought, what can I do when it comes to issues of looking into victims? And this triggered me to do another master's in victimology at Tilburg University in Netherlands. And my research was based on land issues and transitional justice in Kenya. And I was looking at issues of local ownership and issues of inclusivity also. And I was looking at the victim. When we are speaking of the programs that are taking these victims back to their normalcy, are they included in this program? When we are speaking about Operation Rudi Nyumbani, did we include the victim? Where is the voice of the victim in this all area? So finally, I decided that this is my specialty as a security expert. I decided to do a PhD in security studies with specialization. I was looking at issues of post-election violence, and I was looking at victimization, what caused victimizations, the cost of victimization, and issues of victim protection. And in all my research, in all my work, I have come I have come to a conclusion that when it comes to bad governance, issues of victimization cannot be evaded. So as an expert in security, I believe and I think I'm coming in as a person who understands issues of governance and bad governance, which can maybe bad governance can lead into victimization. Issues of bad elections can lead into victimization. And I believe as a victimologist, Iebc is the best place to work in and to represent my country. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Just to clarify, so you have 2 or 3 masters?
2 I'll complete.
Okay.
One is in, I'm almost graduating.
Okay, which one is that is not complete?
Masters in disaster management, because I deferred,
Okay.
but I'm now back.
Okay, that was also from Masinde Muliro.
From Masinde Muliro.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And you currently work, are you adjunct faculty or full-time faculty?
Yeah, I work as adjunct lecturer at Park University.
Like Kipia?
No. Pan-Africa University.
Pan-Africa?
Yeah.
But full-time as a DCI officer?
No. I moved from DCI to academia.
Okay, to academia.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. But you said adjunct, not full-time.
Yeah, I'm not full-time.
Okay, thank you. Lynn.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Maina, how many years of experience did you say you have?
I worked with DCI from 2006 to 2018, 12 years experience with the DCI, and then moved to lecturing for 6 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is in order. So out of your experience, what do you bring to the table? What additional, what good things from your experience do you bring to the table? What different things will you do?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. Chair, if given this opportunity, I'm bringing on board, number one, IBC is an institution that deals with data and information. And as an investigator, I think I'm bringing skills of investigations. I'm bringing skills of analyzing evidence. I'm bringing the skills of presenting and preserving that evidence and presenting it when it is necessary. I'm also bringing experience of being a person who believes in research and training. I believe in sharing information. I'm a person, when I was working with the Nyumba Kumi initiative, I participated in developing a model where we could work from the ground to the top, from the bottom person to the top on issues of security. And this was an issue which could bring inclusivity from the bottom to the top. So I'm bringing a skills where it is all inclusive. It is all inclusive. I'm also bringing a experience on issues of governance. With my studies, I have an international experience. I have studied in UK, I have studied in Netherlands, I have moved in different countries in Europe. I have seen what good governance can do to a country. So I'm coming with international experience to show that we can do it better.
Thank you very much, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. I want to invite Carol to ask some questions. Carol, please.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Maina,
Yes.
Let's pick it up from where you left on good governance. So how does the IBC constitutionally contribute to good governance and democratic process in Kenya?
Thank you very much. When we speak of good governance, we are speaking of a social system where decisions are made not to oppress the minority and not to favor the majority. When we speak of good governance, we are speaking of a system which gives rooms for all people to be heard. IBC is an institution which will be making a decision on who will govern in a certain period of time. IBC then should allow different stakeholders, different people, or should accommodate views from different stakeholders and different people in the country. When we are speaking about democracy, then IBC should allow it to be for the people, by the people. It is not about individuals making a decision on behalf of others, but it should be for the people, by the people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So how does IBC contribute to the realization of those principles of good governance that you have spoken about?
IBC then should always build trust to these people who are making decisions. It should develop a formula or a system which a voter should have trust in. It should also be very transparent to an extent that person will be confident when he's making or she's making that decision.
Allow me to guide you. The principles you have spoken about of good governance are very important and very good in a democratic society. The IBC has its constitutional mandate. How does the IBC's constitutional mandate help or in realization of good governance and democratic processes in Kenya? What is it that IBC does that speaks to governance and democratic processes in this country?
Thank you. When we are speaking about those principles, then IBC as an institution should always give room. It should be give room. It should give room to the electorate to make their decision without any influence, and it should always have a structure which allows everyone to participate, and it should always be bounded by the law. Any decision they make, it should be lawful, and it should be guided by issues of law.
Would you tell us 3 key mandates of the IBC?
Number 1 is managing the election in the country. Number 2, the role of IBC is issues of ensuring that or training and informing the countries on issues related to elections. Number 3 is IBC is mandated in ensuring that all resources available when it comes to issues of elections are in their domain, and they are provided when necessary.
Thank you very much. I wish you well. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I want to invite Koki Muli to ask you some questions. Koki, please.
Thank you very much, Chair. Daktari, Section 55B of the Elections Act provides 3 instances where the Commission can legally postpone an election during the election day. Can you name them, please?
Thank you. The instances when IBC legally can postpone an election, number 1, when there is a state of emergency in a country, IBC can postpone an election.
No, I mean when we are having an election on the election day, because a state of emergency would mean we would not be having the election in the first place.
Yeah.
But let's say, for example, there is a in an area where they can, while other places the election is ongoing. But let's say in another area.
Okay, number 1.
What would be the reasons?
Number 1, maybe an area is invaded with insecurity to an extent that the insecurity is affecting the process. Number 2, there are instances when there are natural calamities. For example, there can be flood, there can be issues that are affecting the process to an extent it cannot continue. Number 3 is when maybe I can relate it with the still issues of natural calamities like death, for example. Maybe it affects maybe the candidates, and they are to an extent they can postpone.
Thank you. In that case, when those reasons that occur, should you be fortunate enough, what do you think the IEBC does then to address, to ensure that those people eventually get to vote?
On issues of maybe insecurity, it is issues of IBC or election process it takes different stakeholders. And when it comes to issues of insecurity, I think the IBC should work with the national government or security apparatus so that they can provide a secure place maybe where the election process can continue. If it comes to issues of natural calamities such as flood and issues to do with disasters which is affecting the electoral process, there is always alternative, and there is, I'm sure, if the natural calamity ceases, then those people can be given an opportunity to vote.
When?
It should be spirited according to the law, and maybe immediately after the calamity is over, or maybe they can look for an alternative where these people maybe can participate in voting.
Thank you very much, Daktari, and I wish you all the best. Chair, thank you.
Thank you very much. I want to invite FCP Tanui to also ask you some questions. FCP, please.
Thank you, Chair. Robert, you told us you are a security expert.
Yeah.
And that is what you'll be bringing on board. So the post-election evaluation report of IEBC, they did indicate that IEBC have a program. They call it ESAP, Election Security Arrangement Program. So I believe you must have looked at it now that you have expertise in that area. What does election security encompass? When we talk of election security, what does it encompass?
Thank you very much. When you're speaking about election security, we are speaking of a system which allow the electorate to participate, or the stakeholders in election to participate without fear, without humiliation, and with confidence that if they participate and they vote, their vote will finally count. Giving examples of places where I come from, maybe from Laikipia.
So what does it entail when you talk of election security? They must be various components. So what does it entail or encompass?
It entails issues of preventing crimes when it comes to issues of election. You prevent becoming a proactive, and establishing a state system which is very proactive when it comes to issues of these voters participating in election. For example, the voter should participate knowing that he or she is well protected by the system. A system which prevent issues of interference, maybe by other agencies. A system which protect the apparatus or equipment that are used during the electoral process, and a system which give an assurance of the process which the voters will be undertaking.
Okay, what is the structure of ESAP, that election security arrangement program? How is its governance structure or its structure?
When it comes to its structure, the structure is guided by the mechanism that are developed by the IBC, and the structure is guided by the system.
That program has a structure. Who is responsible for what? Who is in charge and all that? That's what I'm asking for.
Unfortunately, I have not looked into that.
You haven't looked at that?
Yeah.
The same post-election evaluation report also identified some challenges that were experienced in the 2022 general elections. Yeah. That are security related. I don't know whether you have any idea what were those challenges that were experienced.
Number one challenge is, I understand from issues of election in Kenya, and
No, the 2022 general elections.
the 2022 general elections,
Yes.
are security issues related to IBC officials, security issues related to electorates, and security issues related to the apparatus or the equipment that are used by IEBC. I think those are the three major areas where the security challenges came into.
Thank you. I wish you well. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Evans Misati, please.
Thanks so much, Dr. Robert. In your view, what is the strategic leadership responsibility of a commissioner if you are given an opportunity to become one? And how does it differ from the secretariat role in the electoral management?
Pardon, please. Strategic leadership?
Responsibility of a commissioner. And how does it differ from that of the secretariat in electoral management?
When it comes to strategic leadership, this is a system where people are guided by a vision, an aim, and at the end of the day, they want to achieve certain goals. When it comes to IBC, much of the law is done by the secretariat, but the commission take responsibility of whatever has been done by the secretariat. They own up the work. So when it comes to issues of strategic leadership, when it comes to commissioners, it is their mandate to oversight, to guide, and to ensure that whatever decisions are being made or whatever work is being done is according to the IBC goals and objectives. And when it comes to issues to do with the secretariat is guided by their ethos and work plan to ensure that there is a collaboration, and whatever they do is work with is in collaboration with the commissioners and with their work. It is always guided by a formula where the secretariats are the working team in the IBC, and the commissioners own the work that is done by the secretariat. So when it comes to issues of ownership and responsibility, it is by the commissioner.
Thanks so much, and I wish you well.
Thank you. I want to invite Ms. Fatuma Saman. Please ask the candidate some questions.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Ndongo, would you please tell the panel who the key players are in the Kenya electoral process? Then also identify their roles in the cycle.
Thank you very much. As I stated earlier, issues to do with elections is a multi-purpose function. And it calls for different stakeholders to participate for it to be free and fair. Number one stakeholder who I'll explain is the security, where maybe I'm an expert. Their role is to ensure that there is security from from the time the election process starts, in the whole cycle of the election process. They provide security to the staff, they provide security to the electoral material, they provide security to in the whole process. Number two is the electorate. The voter is a key player in the election process. Without a voter, then there will be no election. They participate in voting, they participate in training. Number three is the parliament. The parliament make legislation, they make law, they pass the budget to ensure that IBC is funded. and they are there to make amendment when necessary. Number 4 is the political party. Political party is they must work hand in hand with IEBC, because they contain they have the list of the electorate. They have the list of they have the list of the political parties, and working in harmony with the IEBC will ensure that we have a credible election in the country. Thank you.
Thank you, and I wish you well.
Thank you. I want to invite Nicodemus to ask some questions. Nicodemus, please.
It's, Robert, maybe we describe you as a ghost buster with a bottom-up approach.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
I can go with it.
Very good.
Yeah.
Because you talked about you helped the country bust the ghosts that were taking.
Yeah.
Now, we have had persistent complaints about the credibility of voter register.
Yeah.
And among the issues that were discussed and brought out were ghost voters. With your experience, what long-term leadership reforms will you champion to restore the trust on the voter register?
Long-term?
Leadership reforms.
Yeah.
That you will champion to restore the voter register trust.
Thank you very much. As an expert in investigation and having participated in investigating the ghost workers in the country and helping the country recover huge amount of money, issues of voter register have been, it have created huge debate in the country. Every time during electioneering period, we usually hear of issues to do with voter register. I think I was thinking on IT perspective. And my idea was, what if this country, to some extent now, or the IEBC, if I join the IEBC, this will be my suggestion. Why don't we develop a software where we are joining hands with the Registrar of Persons, Registrar of Death, IEBC, and Immigration, for example. And I'll give immigration because of an example I saw of my case experience I saw in UK. When I arrived in UK, 2 weeks later, I received an email that you are from Commonwealth and you are in UK and we are having Brexit. You are supposed to register because you have a right to vote. My thinking was, what if we have a software or a system where that person who graduates from high school get an ID, automatically will receive a pop-up message informing him or her that you are now above 18, you can register as a voter. And then when that person die and get a death certificate, automatically the IEBC will receive a pop-up message that ABC is now dead, and therefore you need to strike him or her from the voters register. When it comes to issues of connecting these 3 or 4 organs, we will have a continued registration of voters. Because automatically when that person graduates from class 8, from 4, sorry, get an ID, he or she is informed that he can register, and then he's given an option, and registration should be online. I'm speaking this being a young adult in this country, a millennial that is, and I'm coming in, looking into the current scenario where you have the Gen Zs and millennial, and or maybe the upper class people who sometimes they are not ready to go and queue maybe when it comes to registering as a voter. If we develop this software, they can easily participate and it can be a long term. If we look at the banking system in the country, for example, we have a software where you can do banking with your mobile phone. Why don't we have an app in this country, where if we can trust bank with our billions and millions of money, why don't we trust a software where maybe I can register myself at the convenience of my house, register as a voter, and then it will reflect to the IEBC. So that's the idea. If I am given an opportunity to join IEBC, I'll think of a software. I'll think of an app which will give all of us a convenience to register from our home. If you go to the registrar of political party, you can just log in and know which political party you belong to. Why don't we do that when it comes to issues of IEBC?
Thank you, and all the best, Robert.
Thank you.
Professor, please ask some questions kindly.
Thank you, Chair. Robert Mainandung.
Yes, Prof.
A security expert.
Yes, Prof.
Security apparatus serve the government of the day.
Yeah.
Security apparatus, even as they serve the government of the day, are deemed and are supposed to be impartial. Let me take you back to 2007. KICC is in turmoil. Then, as the country is at tenterhooks, the chair of the IEBC, with only one station, KBC, with security apparatus, removing everybody, and the chair of IEBC, without other commissioners, protected by security apparatus, announces the results that nearly brought this country to the precipice. As an expert, young one, walk me through that impartiality and where an incumbent is a contestant. How do you balance?
Thank you very much. Chair, when it comes to issues of impartiality, it is very unfortunate that we experienced what we experienced in 2002. I have undergone a police training. And
I'm sure you mean 2007.
So 2007, sorry, yeah. And in police training, you are taught that you must be loyal to the government of the day. And on the other side, there are issues of patriotism when it comes to issues of governance, on issues of election. It is very unfortunate when you are used by the government of the day as a police officer, you interfere with maybe the electoral process. At the end of the day, the person you are trying to prevent to join the government end up being the president or the MP or the person who is elected. When it comes to issues of impartiality, we should go beyond greed. We should go beyond greed. If you look at what is eating our country, I can call it greed. On the other side, on one side, the Mwananchi is grieving, but on the other side, few people are led by greed. Issues of impartiality should guide any security officer from the word go. From the word go. Despite whoever comes and wins at the end of the day, we should always be guided by impartiality. Why? Because if you become partial and something happened like in 2007, 2008, 2007, I was a police officer. The post-election violence affected me. I was a primary victim. My people died. I was a secondary victim and tertiary victim. As a police officer, I could go transport dead bodies to every day. I'm carrying dead bodies. These things are traumatizing. I remember a scenario where I carried a family from Western Kenya to Naivasha, and this was, sorry to mention this case, this was a woman who had been sexually molested. She was 60-something years. I brought her to Naivasha. And where I brought her, I met a group of people. They asked me my name. I mentioned my name. And they started, when I pestered with them that they wanted to, because they had kidnapped a woman and 4 men, they were saying the next thing that we shall do, we will, let me call it the way they said it. We will circumcise them, and then we will molest this woman. And I pestered with them. And they asked me, are you really from this side or the other side? And I told them, it doesn't matter. If you molest this woman, it is not giving an answer to this country. And finally, they told me, Kale, this woman, go with her. If by that time I had gone with anger, if I had gone with partiality, I could have told them, this lady who have been molested comes from my area, therefore, you diverge. But I went as a patriot. I said, I won't be partial, I will show impartiality. I will show my leadership skills. I convinced them, they did not molest the woman, they did not circumcise the man. I went with them to Western Kenya. This thing, the impartiality should also apply when it comes to making decisions on issues of protecting our electoral process. We should always be guided, as a police, as a security expert, we should be guided by generational vision. Let's not only think about today, let's think about the generation that will come. If we do it like today, then we are speaking of a better Kenya. But if we practice partiality, governments comes and go. Governments comes and go. And Kenya still remains to be Kenya. Therefore, we should always be guided by patriotism and issues of impartiality throughout as a security officer. I'm not saying you should not be loyal to the government of the day, but when it comes to making decisions, be guided by our tomorrow, be guided by our Kenya tomorrow, because we don't want to see what happened in 2007, 2008, and which affected all of us. Thank you very much.
My last question in this segment, you told us you are a millennial.
Yeah.
And Robert Maina Ndung'u finds himself as a commissioner. And while he's a commissioner, he discovers confidential information indicating that a fellow commissioner may have solicited a bribe during the procurement process. How would Robert Maina Ndung'u respond?
Thank you very much. In my studies, I did a diploma in ethics and corruption studies, where I graduated with a distinction. When it comes to issues of corruption, it should be zero tolerance to corruption. What has killed our country is corruption. What has destroyed our country is corruption. What is making people out there cry is corruption. As a commissioner, and I'm saying before cameras, if I'm given an opportunity to become an Iebc commissioner, I will not tolerate corruption. I'll be quick to report. In fact, when I was participating in developing the Nyumba Kumi model, we had a slogan: you see, you say. You say, when you see it, say it. Those countries I have mentioned that I have visited, we cannot say they have zero corruption, but they have managed managed their corruption level. To an extent, there is hope. In fact, everybody is, if you go to immigration, everyone is trying to take their children to those developed countries. Why? Because they think these are the best places where they can raise their children. But if we don't tolerate corruption in Kenya, if we fight corruption to the core in Kenya, our country will be better. For me, when I was a student, I was asked to give a suggestion on what should be done to corrupt people. I think I was very radical, because having been raised from an informal settlement, seeing the sufferings that I could not access medicine in a nearby dispensary, seeing I could not access good education system because maybe of my social status, and learning that corruption is making me suffer this way, I gave a suggestion that we should go the brutal way of shooting the corrupt. I was told that you are brutal. You have gone beyond the lights to life. But my thinking was, I asked my lecturer, when this person takes money meant for hospital, how many people are dying because of this person? When it comes to IBC, if this person takes money or take bribe, and then the electoral process become fraud, and we go back to 2007, 2008, how much did we lose in 2007 and 2008? I think I'll be very radical. I'll use the same formula we were using in Nyumba Kumi. See, said, for better tomorrow.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Prof, do you have some 2 short questions, please?
Yeah, Robert, in this last segment, we usually ask high school questions, and we start with your area of expertise. I've seen that you worked for very long in the Criminal Investigation Department, CID that later became DCI. Who was the first African CID director in Kenya? I can see you've just gotten happy when you had that question. Sitaki wale wazungu, first Africa.
I can't remember. If given time to refresh my mind, I can answer you very quickly.
Okay, let me go to the second question.
Yeah.
And if you refresh your mind by the time you answer the second question, I'll allow you through the chair to say that. Let me ask a very general one.
Yeah.
Which 2 African countries are top producers of diamonds?
Number 1, I can say South Africa. Number 2, let me go with 1.
Have you refreshed your mind? Because we have only 10 seconds on the first one.
I'm poor in remembering names, Prof.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chair.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dr. Robert. It's been a pleasure listening to you and conversing around elections, and particularly the matter of security elections, which is your area of expertise. I don't know if they have any comment or question so that we can come to a close of our interview today.
Thank you very much, Chair. First of all, I'd like to thank the panel for giving me an opportunity to come and present myself in this panel. Having come from an informal sector, when I was shortlisted, I could hear my people saying that, Robert, you are going for an interview with IBC. IBC is the club of the rich, the club of who is who in the country. And I was telling them, time have changed. If you see that I've been given an opportunity, it is a clear indicator that now we are moving to inclusivity now. And we are moving to an area where now every voter, every Kenyan count. And I was telling them, I'm coming in as a victimologist. I don't want to see, I have a lot of knowledge when it comes to issue of victimology, and I believe that I don't want our country to go back to what happened in 2002, 2003. I told them if I stay in the village, I stay as a son of Mama Mboga in the village and not come out and say I have a potential that I can showcase that I can do it. With all this knowledge, with all these degrees, maybe staying in the village, then I won't help my country. I told them that I have tangible experiences on matter security and on issues of, I have international experience. Let me go. I know there is fear. I know most people fear, and they say working in IBC is very risky. But I told them I went to training as a police officer. I've been posted to Mount Elgon where I was facing Janjaweed. There, I fought them and we finally claimed Mount Elgon. Why should I not go and join such institution which will make Kenya a better place? There was also an outcry that we, the millennial and Gen Zs, were not given an opportunity. I want to speak before this camera and tell my age mate we were given an opportunity. I'm here as a millennial. I'm representing you. If given an opportunity, I'll work for the good of this country. I'll show the country that we have the potential and we mean good for our country and we have a generational vision. So thank you very much. If given an opportunity, I'm ready to serve.
Thank you, Dr. Robert Maina, for that comment and the unsolicited appraisal. We are grateful. You find your certificates at the door with a gentleman who brought you in. We wish you well and God's blessings. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Asante.
Asante.
The notebook is yours and the pen and even the water. Thanks. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next candidate is Rodney Walter AGO Okoth. Okay. You do have a pen and a paper there for you to use. My name is Nelson Makanda. I am the chair of this selection panel, and we want to welcome you for this interview. We want to thank you for applying, and we also want to congratulate you for being shortlisted. I want to invite my colleagues to introduce themselves to you, then we will come over to you. Linda, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Omondi, good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Linda Kiome, and I serve this panel as a vice chair. I welcome you for your interview session. Karibu sana.
Rodney, good morning.
Morning.
Okay, jina langu ni Andrew Tanui, mwanachama wa jopo hili na karibu.
Shukuru.
Good morning.
Morning.
Caroline Kituku, karibu.
Good morning, Mugendo Jr.
Morning, Prof.
My name is Adam Solo, a member of the selection panel.
Thank
you. Good morning, Rodney.
Morning.
My name is Nicodemus Bore. Karibu sana.
Asante.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Fatuma Ali Saman, a member of the panel. Please feel welcome.
Asante.
Good morning, Mr. Okoth.
Good morning.
Karibu sana. My name is Koki Muli Grino, and I'm a member of this panel.
Asante.
Good morning, Walter.
Morning.
My name is Evans Misati. I'm a member of the selection panel, and we welcome you.
Asante sana.
Okay, now we come to you for you to introduce yourself, who you are. It would be nice to mention that the name is very long. Yeah, so it would be nice for you to indicate something about it, but highlight those things in your profile that are significant for the role you have applied for, and for us to know if you're a member of any professional group or society, and if at all you have received any award, also please do indicate those. Can you proceed kindly?
Thank you, Chair and members of the panel. What I would like to call this auspicious opportunity that you have accorded me this morning to appear before you and demonstrate the suitability of my candidature for the position of member of the Iebc. To begin with, my name is Rodney Walter AGO Okoth Ogendo. And the reason why it is AGO is because they said that it is too long in my ID, so they had to shorten it by giving abbreviations to some of the names. So it's actually Rodney Walter Anthony Guyana Omondi Okoth Ogendo. I'm a lawyer, a governance specialist, and a lecturer with a deep commitment towards democratic development and also institutional integrity. Therefore, I think I bring to this role a unique combination of legal scholarship, diplomatic experience, and also civic engagement, which I've developed over the years of service in academia, government, and also regional peace processes. Now, in academia, I have taught in various areas of law, namely public international law, international humanitarian law, law, state and security, and also law and governance. At the University of Nairobi, Faculty of Law, where I currently am, and also the Institute of Diplomacy and International Studies. Additionally, I've also been privileged to teach or lecture and also take on workshops at the National Defense College, the International Peace Support Training Center, the Defense Staff College, and also the National Intelligence Service, where I engaged very senior Kenya Defense Forces officers and also top-level government officials. These experiences, in my view, have sharpened my understanding of national security, constitutionalism, and also institutional accountability. Key competencies, I think, that would be necessary in the conduction of a credible and also secure electoral process. In my diplomatic role as technical advisor at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, attached to the Office of Kenya's Special Envoy to South Sudan, I supported Kenya's engagements in the South Sudan peace process. And whilst there, I engaged entities closely, such as RJMEC. RJMEC is the reconstituted Joint and Monitoring Evaluation Commission, whose main task is to oversee the implementation of the South Sudan peace agreement, which we call the R-Access, the R-Access being the revitalized agreement on the resolution of conflict in South Sudan. I've also worked closely with entities such as the Troika, who are the tripartite development partners towards the peace agreement. This is a tripartite between the Americans, the British, and the Norwegians. I've also worked closely with IGAD at a technical level, and I've also worked with the Sant'Egidio community in Rome, who at that time had taken on the benevolent task of having to try to bring on board the non-signatories to the peace agreement, which has now been overtaken, or rather has been succeeded by the Tumaini initiative, which is being overseen by State House. Last but not least, I also engaged closely with the wonderful people of South Sudan. And our mission there was fairly simple on paper, because matters of diplomacy, are considered a very simple thing on paper. But when you come into the practice of it, you realize that the waters are fairly murky. So our mission was to facilitate dialogue, foster inclusivity, and also develop ways in which we can entrench sustainable peace through continuous stakeholder engagements. And that is very key in such a region and such a process where you have a lot of antagonism between the parties to the peace agreement. Now, my passion for electoral governance was cemented at a young adult age, and I thought I should mention this, when my late father, Professor Hastings Okoth Ogendo, then the CKRC vice chair, was accredited to become an observer in the 2002 general elections. And he was very excited about this role. And in his excitement, he also dragged me along and tasked me to write my observations at what I saw and experienced at the polling stations. And to cut a long story short, the enthusiasm and care with which he approached this responsibility was contagious and left a lasting impression on me. And I then realized that electoral integrity is not just about the mere mechanics of casting a vote. You go to the ballot and you cast a vote, but also incorporates the what I would like to call the values, the democratic values that underpin our nation. Today, in my work with the Electoral Law and Governance Institute for Africa, whom I do some work with from time to time, I support legal and policy I support legal and policy reforms that are drawn from past electoral experiences. And the reason why I posed is because some of these experiences are very necessary to address in the future electoral processes that we are going to undertake as a nation. I'm also passionate about inclusivity. I'm passionate about innovative civic education strategies that harness digital tools, youth-driven content, and also mobilization at the grassroots where there's letting of, or rather there's a dissemination of knowledge on the electoral processes through ways in which we can engage the people at their level. If given the opportunity the honorable opportunity to serve at the IEBC, I not only bring the expertise in experience and also technical from what I have tried to illustrate to you, but also the generational experience or perspective. I also bring the regional perspective, and most important, a reform-oriented mind, which I think is important in the building of public trust in such an institution that has low public trust, and also safeguarding Kenya's democratic future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are you a PhD candidate?
Pardon?
Are you a PhD student?
In the course.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I noticed you got your master's at 29, and it's been 11 years since.
I'm in the course of it, actually.
Okay.
It's because of academia and
Okay.
the amount of work that we have there.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Linda, please.
Mr. Mondi,
Yes.
Chair, just out of curiosity, is Mr. Omondi related to the very well-renowned Professor Okoth Ogendo that we in the legal profession have heard about while we were in school?
Yes, I am. I'm his second-born son. We lost one of us last year to cancer. So now I am basically the first-born son.
I must
Yes.
admit, Chair, that the apple did not fall far from the tree. Looking at the CV, I'm happy to meet you actually, but besides that, what experience and particularly competencies do you bring to the table if you're given this opportunity to be a commissioner in the IEBC?
I think some of the competencies that I bring leadership. And in leadership, looking at my experience over the years through academia, I have taught different levels of students, all the way up to masters. I've also taught, like I'd said, senior military officials. I have also engaged in workshops that have required me to prepare content to train and influence high-level officials. And so one of the key competencies that I bring in that area is a good understanding of constitutionalism, electoral integrity, and also institutional accountability. In the area of my experience in the South Sudan peace process, remember, with South Sudan, the South Sudan peace process is, for those of you who know the history, this is an intractable struggle, which, is characterized by fratricidal struggles. It's an intractable conflict, actually. And the reason why it's an intractable conflict is because there's low trust amongst the main protagonists and even the main parties that are assisting in bringing them together to form a sustainable foundation based on constitutionalism are also having a challenge because of that low trust. And you can see even today, there's still some issues around there. So during my engagement there, we worked very closely. I learned diplomacy 101, let me put it that way. And in learning diplomacy 101, there are some key things that I picked, which is patience. And patience is overlooked, but is a key virtue. And I believe is also a competence for such a rigorous process, such as the electoral process that we have here in Kenya. And also continuous stakeholder engagement, persuasion, the language of persuasion, knowing what to say. Sometimes you'd be in the negotiation room and someone says something, and because the people are finicky about issues to do with their with some issues about how they perceive how things should be done, they just get up and walk out of the room, and you're left there and you're wondering, we've flown all the way here and we've come to broker peace, but sometimes peace comes at quite a cost. So my key experiences from that also bring the competencies of patience and also the competency of stakeholder engagement, which is key. Also civic education, talking to people at their level. That is what I believe. And that and if we were to extrapolate that into the context that we have here presently, I think those are key values that would enable us to conduct a free, credible, and fair electoral process.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Omonti. I wish you the very best.
Asante sana.
Thank you,
Linda.
Chairman.
Karibu. I want to invite Carol to ask you some questions. Carol, please.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Okoth, the minor KI case.
Yes.
The Court of Appeal held that the polling stations resorts, as announced and declared that the polling station ought to be final. How does this shape or determine the IBC's resort management framework?
Thank you, Caroline, for that question. And this is the minor KI case is a very interesting case. And why do I say it's an interesting case is because it also demonstrated why the IBC is a low trust institution. Because you can remember at the time of that case, the IBC as an institution was against the position of the Raia. And the interpretation is that once votes have been cast and tallied and announced at the polling station, it should be final. But the IBC was coming against this interpretation on grounds that they needed to be able to amend if there is an error that has been made in the polling station. They need to amend the results that have been declared at the polling station. And if you look at that, it pits the IBC against the people. Yet the IBC is an institution that is supposed to execute or facilitate the expression of the will of the sovereign. So if your position is going against the will of the sovereign, then whose mandate are you on?
Yeah, fortunately, the court did not allow that, and the court determined that the results that have been declared are final.
Are final, yes.
So what is the impact of that decision, and how does it contribute to IBC's resort management system?
Now, the impact of that is that when you look at the IBC resort management system, is once the results are declared at the polling station, they ought to be pasted at the door, okay? And then the results that are declared are also transferred electronically through the Kenya Integrated Management System kits, which should also corroborate what has been pasted on the door. And the challenges that you have there, and if you want me to go into it, brings in the issue of the server, because the server is the main place where one can verify whether what has been declared at the polling station is what is reflected in the server. And that should be the basic, end to it, because once the results have been declared, then there is no other possibility or room for gerrymandering to take place thereafter. And I think that looking at that management system, as far as the declaration of the results is concerned, IBC should be able, as a low trust institution, to make itself a high trust institution. It should be able to reduce its engagement in terms of the declaration of results at the National Tallying Center, and merely reflect what is announced at the polling stations.
All right, thank you very much. I wish you well. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you,
I want to
Caroline.
invite Koki to ask some questions, please. Koki Muli.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Okoth,
Yes.
Listening to the utterances by politicians who are likely to be candidates in 2027, they are already promising us a bruising battle. Everybody is talking about 2027, and of course, their supporters. This is a making of high stakes elections in 2027, which may be very polarized. My question is, if you are nominated to be a member of the IEBC, you will have about, let's say, two years and a few days. What preparatory, I'm talking about preparations, what preparatory strategies are you going to engage to ensure that this election is secure, 2027 election is secure, and we have credible transmission and declaration of results. Think of it as preparing for election from 6 a.m. throughout, from voting, opening of the polling station, all the way to the declaration of results, and focus on the high stakes polarized presidential election that we are going to have, we are likely to have, and think about what to do now in those 2 years to ensure that it's secure, it's credible, and it's free and fair.
Thank you, Balozi. Looking at the process itself, we have a very short time, I admit. And I wouldn't want to say that we are going to pull a rabbit out of the hat if if we make it to that stage. But some key things about the preparation process is we have to evaluate where we have come from, identify the gaps as we go into the 2027 general election. And the key thing about identifying these gaps is so that we do not...
We have already identified it's going to be polarized, it's going to be high stakes. We want to do things to prevent...
On the preparation?
Yes, the things we'll do, those strategies.
So the immediate thing that would have to happen is, first of all, you have to go to Parliament and get approval for budget so that we can implement some of the key functions of the IEBC at the preparation stage. And these key functions are registration of voters, and alongside registration of voters, there's also the civic education. As we do that, we also need to also bear in mind that the caliber of voters that are coming up in 2027 are not the usual voters that we've had in the previous elections. We now have what you call the youth bulge. And if you recall what happened last year, it is an expression that the youth now want to be involved, or the younger generation now want to be involved in the decision-making processes and also want to participate, have a stake in the table of the decision-making processes. Now, in the preparations, we would also look at the procurement of the necessary materials and services that are required for the implementation of the functions of the IEBC. And in the procurement, there's also the guidelines. I know a bit about the Procurement and Disposals Act of 2015, the general principles that one should abide by when considering procurement. Then there's also the issue of the KIMS kits. Currently, as you may know, it is now public knowledge that the Auditor General has reported that 200 KIMS kits are missing. And so that is a very key tool in the electoral process. And it is important that once we get there, we know how we are going to treat the issue of the missing KIMS kits. Because the deployment of the KIMS kits is also very important. Another thing in terms of the transmission is we also look at looking at other ways of providing for internet services in the far-flung areas where to avoid the movement of the kids, we adopt satellite technology, which is now accessible everywhere, and the kids don't have to be moved, so on and so forth. I'd also go ahead and perhaps propose the incorporation of barcode system in distribution of electoral materials, which are location specific, so that you don't have a situation where on the D-Day, elections are supposed to take place and the polling materials are in Meru, for instance, okay? And then they have to be brought back from Meru very quickly. Perhaps at that time, they probably use the vehicles for ferrying Mira because they move very quickly, so that the polling stations can open immediately. And usually that's what contributes to the delays in the opening of these polling stations. So you find some open up at 11, some open at 12, because they're trying to relocate where the electoral materials are. So the incorporation of the barcode with location-specific technology should be able to mitigate such challenges in future electoral processes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Okoth, and all the best.
Thank you very much.
Chair.
Sante.
Thank you. I invite FCPA to ask you some questions. FCPA, please.
Thank you, Chair. Rodney, as you are doing your introduction, you did mention about mistrust or confidence, public confidence. So my question is, how would IEBC, or what reforms can IEBC put in place to institutionalize stakeholder confidence?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
That is a very important question. Not that the others have not been important, but it is one that touches on the core perception of the IEBC as an institution before the Kenyan peoples. And the Constitution is fairly clear on laying the foundational framework on how we should conduct the electoral process. And whatever process that we incorporate, it should be simple, it should be accurate, it should be transparent, it should be accountable, and also verifiable. So if we want to build stakeholder confidence, we then need to embrace this clause of the Constitution that lays the foundation for how the IEBC should work. We should open up the processes. We should be more transparent in the way we are doing things. To be very honest, you can't come at the 11th hour and say we're introducing book 1 and book 2, and yet there's not been sufficient stakeholder engagement. Immediately, that creates ground for casting of aspersions. And it is, perhaps it is being done out of necessity, but the way in which it is done or conducted in the eyes of the public, who already have a very low trust opinion of the IEBC, they will begin to raise questions. So the timing is very important. Continuous stakeholder briefings, communications, the communications aspect of the IEBC is very important. every step that the IEBC makes, it should be able to communicate its decisions and what it is thinking to the public, to the stakeholders, to those who are invested in this electoral process, and to its primary employee, which is the sovereign, okay? Oh, sorry, primary employer, which is the sovereign. So the opening up of these processes and the opening up of these processes, continuous engagement, continuous communication is very key in ensuring that we build this trust, the public trust amongst the stakeholders.
Thank you, and I wish you well. Back
Thank
to
you.
Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you. I want to invite Misati, please.
Thanks so much, Chair. Rodney,
Yes, sir.
I wanted to confirm from you that in your life or in your work, do you sometimes find it easier, ama kwa Kiswahili unakulia jina ya baba yako ama do you find ways, kuna wakati unakulia jina ya baba yako?
Kuna wakati tunakulia jina ya babangu.
Yes. Because of his good name. Because of his good name.
Oh, because of his good name.
Yes. Anyway, that's on a light touch. Let's go back now.
Lakini tunakula or rather I'm a beneficiary ya kukula katiba.
Thanks so much. Now, going back to our main work.
Yes, sir.
Please tell the panel, according to your understanding about the Elections Act and the Constitution, what are the core responsibilities of the Commission that cannot be delegated to the Secretariat?
I would like to address that by also looking at the relationship between the Commission and also the Secretariat. And you've seen in the past that there's been issues regarding, the way things should be done, and friction arising between the Secretariat and its directorates and also the Commission. Yet the Act is very clear that the way in which this should be conducted is through consensus and building policy frameworks that are then implemented by the Secretariat, and they're giving now the policy direction. That is not something that can be delegated. Then again, of course, you have the issue of where commissioners take on the roles of part of the directorates, and that presents a challenge at the same time, because if you have then the committees at the committees that are set up at the Commission level, there's a challenge of those committees also interfering with the work also done at the directorate level. So in that area, the way in which the Iebc, or rather the Commission, should conduct its mandate in regards to the Secretariat is through giving policy direction, which is not transferable, and also the issue of declaration of the results of the presidential election.
So you're saying that policy formulation and supervision and oversight cannot be transferred. What about boundary delimitation? Is there anything that they can delegate on boundary delimitation to the Secretariat?
On boundary delimitation, the Secretariat is the one that actually implements. And on boundary limitation, it's now even, there's a directorate where boundary limitation has then been placed under research at the directorate level. So when we're looking at the boundary limitation, there's the role that the Secretariat will play, but also in consideration of the provisions that are set out under Article 89 of the Constitution.
Thanks so much, and I wish you all the best.
Asante sana, Madam Sati.
Thank you. I want to invite Fatuma, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Koth,
Yes.
I've heard you make reference to the KIMS kit quite often. What is the complete word? What are the complete words?
Kenya Integrated Electoral Management System.
Okay, thank
and
you.
was introduced in 2015.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
What are the components that are included therein?
What are there?
What are the components included in the KIMS?
In the KIMS kits?
Yes.
There is the actual kit itself. There is the GPS chip that is included. And then there's also the, I guess, the components that facilitate transferring of the votes electronically.
Who are the stakeholders who ordinarily would be checking the credibility of the kit?
Who are there?
Who are the stakeholders who will be checking the credibility of the kits?
That is the Iebc at the Secretariat level, the ICT department, and also if they open it up to third parties to also assist. Yeah.
So no one else would check the credibility apart from the Iebc staff?
Yes, I would think so.
Thank you. I wish you well. Back to you, Chair.
Thank you very much. I want to come to you, Nicodemus, please.
Rodney.
Yes, sir.
In your CV, you have indicated that you are currently a consultant at ILOG.
LGA.
Oh, LGA. Okay. And you have previously provided specialized legal services and training on democracy.
Yes.
From your training experience.
And that is in the South Sudan experience.
Okay.
Yeah.
From your training experience, what were the most common legal loopholes exploited during an election? And how would you mitigate them in IEBC's operation?
When we look at the legal challenges, we consider the electoral framework, the legal electoral framework of the IEBC. And when looking at these legal challenges, you have the issues of, one, for instance, the declaration of the results at the polling stations being final. You have also the issue of consensus amongst the collegiate at the commission level, building collegiate relationships at the commission level. Also looked at other challenges that we've also looked at include procurement, challenges in procurement, and how we can strengthen these procurement policies to make them a bit more transparent. For instance, and I'll just give you one example. We are supposed to procure in good faith, in public interest, good public interest. We are supposed to procure openly, open tendering. And then you ask yourself, how does an independent institution sign away the rights of the Kenyan peoples to a foreign entity? And when it comes to accountability for the process, the foreign entity then says intellectual property rights. That presents a challenge because this foreign entity has the biometrics of Kenyans, has the names of Kenyans, has the locations of Kenyans, has the intricate details of the Kenyan peoples. And they come and say, we cannot allow you to handle this information because it is our intellectual property right. I think that is a concern for national security, if you ask me. And why an independent institution would sign away the rights of the peoples is also another question. So looking at it from a legal point of view is that needs to be rectified, because the end process of the electoral process is the server. And in doing so, perhaps get an opinion from the Supreme Court on the constitutionality of such a contract that binds the Kenyan peoples and their sovereign rights. So I think that those are some of the challenges that I would want to mention in terms of the legal perspective. Yeah.
Thank you, Rodney, and all the best.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay, I want to invite our professor to ask you some questions, please.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, you did ask Rodney about his PhD, and he answered you that he's got a lot of work as a lecturer and consultancy. Let me confess that he taught me in my LLM coursework on law and security. Because of a lot of work, I also haven't finished my LLM project. So we share.
Both of you need to go to a retreat.
So we share in that. Rodney, you've talked of low trust. Then you have walked us through. You know, in tennis, they talked of unforced error. Unforced error is an error that you didn't have to commit, but you could still commit it. So you've walked us through, yes, or an own goal from Maina Kiai, ruling. You've taken us to book 1 and book 2. You've taken us to intellectual property given away to another company, not even another country, just a company. And we can add others, like the mixed ballot papers and commissions not talking at par. What is it? Because when you look at, and it's not one IBC, it's successive IBC commissions committing basic and forced errors, and hence the low trust, as you say. What is it that Rodney, Walter, Anthony, Guyana, Omondi, Okotogen would do if made a commissioner? And suppose you are just one and the rest still want to commit enforced errors.
Thank you, Prof.
What would you do?
Thank you, Prof. To be very honest, the electoral process in Kenya is one that has also been, let me say, challenged because of the system of the political system that we have adopted and the type of electoral framework that we have adopted in conducting our electoral processes. And because it is high stakes, Prof, and you know that on the 9th of August, 2027, we'll be having a presidential election, and at the same time, we'll be having a gubernatorial election, we'll be having senatorial elections, we'll be having parliamentary elections, and we'll also be having MCA elections. That puts a lot of pressure on the institution of the IEBC. And perhaps it is one for consideration in terms of reforms that we look to get a constitutional amendment and remove the presidential election from these other elections, so that then the focus can be squarely on the presidential D-Day, and then the others can come thereafter, like it is in other jurisdictions. Then that will ease the pressure on the IEBC as far as the electoral process is concerned. So then they should be better prepared so that they do not commit these faux pas that we see in terms of preparedness for the election D-Day. Over and above that, one could also allude that there is political pressure on the institution and the independence of the institution itself. And you can, the drafters of the Constitution envisaged from the Kriegler report, taking on from the Kriegler report, they envisaged that the fallacies that we had in the Kivuitu period, to address it, we need to give this institution the independence it deserves. Up until now, the IBC fund has not been actualized. So autonomy is also accompanied by financial capacity. And the problem is that now we have to go to the donors and we tell them, look, give us money, we need to conduct this, give us money, we need to do this. The IBC needs to go to parliament to persuade them on why these processes are critical and need to be supported. So, looking at it from that perspective, it is important, therefore, that we recognize that the conduct of elections in this country can be performed better if there is less pressure on the institution and independence of the IEBC as an institution, as an independent institution. And the independence of such an institution is even protected in the Constitution under Chapter 15. And that autonomy is necessary for the kind of things that we want the IEBC to achieve. And without that autonomy, then even come 2027, we'll be looking at a more or less similar semblance of the same challenges we've had in the past. So autonomy is very important. Given the time that we have between now and the next general election, I must say that it is not going to be a perfect delivery, because time is also necessary, mass registration of voters, and you can imagine now the kind of voters who are coming on board are the younger generation. And I think I am young enough to understand the frustrations, the aspirations, and the desires of the younger generation as far as electoral participation is concerned, but also experienced enough to be able to engage in these high-level institutional processes.
My last question on this segment. At the commission level, what policies or internal structures, were you to be a commissioner, would you recommend to institutionalize a culture of integrity in IEBC operations?
Thank you, Prof. One of the key things at the commission level is that, one, we need to first know, and it needs to be instilled in us, that the primary employer is the sovereign, as set out under Article 1 of our Constitution. That the people are sovereign, and the people have delegated this sovereign right to an entity such as the IEBC to express their sovereign will through universal suffrage. So the IEBC needs to be equipped with that knowledge, first of all. It needs an inculcation of that knowledge, that I am going before on behalf of the Kenyan people. And this has got to also embrace the principles set out under Article 10 of the Constitution. Patriotism, love for your country. If you love your country, there are some things that you're not going to do. If you love your country, you know that also electoral processes are not just the end of it. It also has an impact on political economy. And so the caliber of leaders that you choose will have an impact also in the future to come. So that understanding of who we are as a commission is very important, and it needs to be inculcated. Another thing is the way in which we can build collegiality as a commission through retreats. We need to have retreats. We need to have confidence building amongst ourselves, team building amongst ourselves, knowing each other as persons, that we are working together, creating that necessary synergy that is important for building the kind of trust that the Kenyans want to see in such an institution. And then the other thing also is creating what I would like to call a policy guideline on how we should conduct ourselves as commissioners at the IBC. And this policy guideline should be very important, because it should spell the ABCD of how we should do things all the way up until the declaration of results. And if we had those policy guidelines in the previous election, then I don't think the Supreme Court would have had the opportunity to spell out something that was rather obvious. And with no disrespect, and no pun intended to the late Chebukati, but under Article 3810 in his soliloquy, where he decided to inform himself that because I am the national returning officer, I am the one who should declare the results. Yet the Supreme Court came and said, the office that you established is unconstitutional. And furthermore, you should have read Article 138.10 together with Article 138.6 so that you can understand and embrace the essence of collegiality in decision making. So that policy guideline framework should be able to spell out the way in which we should conduct ourselves, how we build consensus, and also place repercussions for those commissioners who violate those guidelines. Thank you, Prof.
Thank you, Chair.
Rodney, just a little detail. How long did your course at Boretam College take you?
That was about a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when did you see our notice for interview?
I saw it when it was sent.
When did you apply for your equation of certificates?
I've already applied for it, and with the Council of University Education, and they have assured me that they should be done with it within by next week after Easter, because of getting the correspondences from the foreign universities.
Okay, but when did you apply for it?
When did I?
Apply for the equation.
I applied for the equation yesterday.
Was there any good reason why?
Is there?
Was there any good reason why you had to wait until yesterday?
I think I'm within the timeline. So that notwithstanding, the credibility of what I have done and what I have been awarded is not in question. It's just the formality of the processes that presents the challenge at this particular juncture, but it will soon be sorted out.
Okay, I hope that you submit those in good time.
I'll make sure it's done immediately after Easter, sir.
Okay, thank you. Prof, do you want to?
Yes, Rodney, through the chair, we usually finish with what he calls high school questions. And we usually start with an area of your expertise, which is wide. So I've purposely picked one which you talked about very eloquently. That is as a technical advisor attached to the South Sudan peace process at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And I want you to take the panel down the memory lane, because the peace process has been such a long cyclical, if you so wish, process. So the question is, when was the comprehensive peace agreement that gave birth to South Sudan signed, and which were the parties to the agreement?
Thank you, Prof. The CP agreement was signed in 2005, and the main signatories were then the late Mabior Garang and also the former president representative, the foreign secretary of Bashir.
My last question. Which two African countries were colonized by Belgium?
Come again, sir.
Which two African countries were colonized by Belgium?
I would like to take
20 seconds.
I would like to take a wild guess here, sir.
Yes, you're allowed.
Yes, I would say Cote d'Ivoire and Equatorial Guinea. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair.
That was a wild guess for sure.
Thank you, Rodney. We have enjoyed our time with you, and
Yes, sir.
Grateful for your time. Do you have any comment or question to make in a minute, kindly?
Yes, I would like to make maybe two comments. Yes, I know this is an electoral process, but also it is also a political process. And perhaps some of the challenges that we face as the Iebc is probably due to a broader understanding of some of the political challenges that bedevil our nation. And this is just food for thought. Maybe we need to reconsider our political system and perhaps go full parliamentary so that there's not too much clamor under the majoritarian system that we have now, 50+1, and also introducing more aspects of representational democracy, perhaps devolving that representational democracy, because if you look at the cycle of our political system, at every election, you have the main protagonists, and then after that, there's some bit of hue and cry here. The winner has been declared, and then we go into a period of a lot of political instability. Then at some point, there's the handshake, there's the grand coalition government, there's the now broad-based government. So perhaps because we are inherently socialist as a people and not individual, we perhaps maybe would want to look at a way of power sharing that would then now trickle down and have better inform our electoral processes. But that is just food for thought. Other than that, I thank you all for this opportunity. It is an honor, to say the least, to come before you. And I hope I have demonstrated, as I said in the beginning, the suitability of my candidature for the position of IEBC Commissioner. And if you do give me this honorable duty, I promise you, and I promise Kenyans, that I shall execute my duties with the fidelity to the law, stricto sensu. Thank you.
Thank you, inshallah. Ubarikiwe sana.
Nawe ubarikiwe.
Tuonane. Vyeti vyako viko pale kwa mlango na yule ndugu aliyekuleta. Daftari na kalamu na maji unaweza zibeba.
Naweza beba hii.
Asante. Yes.
Asante.
Ubarikiwe.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
God bless.
Thank you. Can you get 5 minutes? Okay, fine. Take 5 minutes. Karibu sana. You can put on that, you press, yes, speak, yes, there. Thank you. My name is Nelson Makanda, and I am the chair of this selection panel. Let me say that it's a pleasure to have had you apply for the position of member of the Commission of IEBC.
Thank you.
But also to want to congratulate you for being shortlisted for the same position that you applied for. And for that reason, you are here.
Thank you.
I want to invite my colleagues here to introduce themselves. Thank you very much.
Thank you too.
Good morning, Madam Roslyn.
Morning to you.
My name is Linda Kiome. I want to take this opportunity to welcome you for your interview. Karibu sana.
Thank you.
Madam Roslyn,
Yes.
habari ya asubuhi.
Nzuri sana.
Naitwa Andrew Tanui, mwanachama wa jopo hili la uteuzi, na karibu.
Asante sana.
Good morning, madam.
Morning to you.
Caroline Kituku, karibu.
Asante sana.
Good morning, madam.
Morning to you.
Adam Solo, a member of the selection panel.
Thank you too.
Good morning, madam.
Morning
Niko
to you.
hapa. Nicodemus Bore, karibu sana.
Asante.
Good morning.
Morning to you.
My name is Fatuma Ali Saman, a member of the panel. Please feel welcome.
Thank you.
Good morning, Dr. Andu.
Morning to you.
And karibu sana. My name is Koki Muli Grinyo, and I'm a member of the panel.
Thank you too.
Good morning, Roslyn.
Morning to you.
My name is Evans Misati. I'm a member of this selection panel, and we welcome you.
Thank you too.
Now we come to you and we ask that you introduce yourself, highlight those things in your profile that are significant for us to know, but also significant for the role you have applied for. Let us know if you're a member of any professional society or group, and if you have received any award or honor in the course of your career. Kindly welcome.
Thank you very much, Chairman. First and foremost, I'm taking this opportunity to thank you for having selected me for this interview. To me, this is not something small or insignificant. And thank all of you for being here for me, so that you listen to assess my capability or ability in this position. So I start by introducing myself. I am Dr. Roslyn Randu. I'm a Kenyan. I come from Kilifi County, that is my home county, and specifically Malindi constituency. I'll start by giving a brief background about my academic journey. I schooled in Malindi in a primary school known as Panju Primary School. I sat for my certificate of primary examination. I passed, and I was enrolled or admitted to a secondary school in Taita Taveta, Mari High School. I learned in that school for 4 years, from 1980 to 1983. At that time, it was the previous, it wasn't the 844 curriculum or the CBC curriculum. So I proceeded for my A-level in the same school and had a first attempt. I sat for the exam. I did not make it to the university. So I repeated in the same school in the 6th form. So in this second attempt, I managed to pass, and I was admitted at Kenyatta University. I was admitted to study Bachelor of Education degree in arts, actually, in Kiswahili and philosophy and religious studies. After that, after completion of the university, there was a break. I had to go. The Teacher Service Commission employed me. So there's a break. I went for 4 years, worked with the Teacher Service Commission. At that time, I went for a master's degree in United Kingdom. So I went for a master's degree in United Kingdom, Birmingham University. And I excelled or graduated in 1996. In the following year, I remained in United Kingdom and I enrolled for a diploma in public relations and journalism. This was a part-time course. It was an online course. And within that 1 year, I also enrolled in online courses. These were not online, but I enrolled for diploma courses, IT-related courses. Actually, they were just computer packages. But at that time, it was when the computer era, or I think there was much of this interest in computer knowledge and skills. So I stayed for 2 years in United Kingdom and came back. And since I'm talking about my academic journey, I'll skip that bit. I've worked on coming back from the United Kingdom to Kenya. I worked with the Teacher Service Commission for a number of years, up to 2013. But in 2011, I enrolled for a Doctor of Philosophy degree in Moi University. And I've studied and I completed and graduated in 2022. Besides that, I must say that there was a time when I went to UK, I had wanted to change the course that I wanted. I wanted to study something else. That time, there were many people talking about Masters of Business Administration, but they could not allow me. So that's why in my papers, you sign that there's a deviation from education, and I had wanted to change the courses. So I enrolled, but on coming back to Kenya, I was enrolled at Kenya Institute of Management and for human resource courses, I did part 1 and part 2. I have not completed the research bit. And I think it's because I found that I better concentrate on education since this is my line. And that's why you find that I've not completed. I think this is much that I have to say about the academic life or journey or what I've done. Now, going back to my work experience, when I completed the university degree, when I graduated in 1990, I was posted to teach in a secondary school in Kaloleni, Giriama, a school known as Kizurini Secondary School. I worked for 2.5 years. Then I was transferred to Malindi High School, and I taught for 2.5 years. And then from there, it's when I had a break in my studies. But on coming back, I've worked with the Teacher Service Commission from 1998 up to 2013. This time, I was posted at Shanzu Teachers Training College to work as a college tutor or a teacher trainer. In 2013, or the onset of devolution, I saw the advert. The county governments wanted people to go and work for the new established county government of Mombasa. So I applied and I was successful in that interview, and I was appointed as a member of the Public Service Board, Mombasa County. I worked for 6 years, and at the end of the contract, I also have worked as a director of vocational training in the Department of Education. Then after that, I've worked as a chief officer for the Department of Education and Vocational Training. I worked for 8 months, and currently I am the chief officer for the Department of Blue Economy, Cooperatives, Agriculture, and Livestock. I have worked in those capacities. And for this job, I feel that I have the adequate requirements. I have a Kenyan citizen. I have the minimum requirement of a bachelor's degree in education. And I also believe that I am a person of integrity.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Linda.
Thank you, Chairman. Madam Roslyn, if you're appointed as a member of the IEBC Commission, what relevant experience are you bringing into the IEBC?
Okay. Thank you, Madam Kiome. As Dr. Roslyn Randu is an educationist, I've learned basic knowledge in education, and I've also worked in the education sector for very many years. So I believe the skills and the knowledge that I have in the part of education, I believe that the skills and the knowledge that I have will be relevant in the field or in the Directorate of Voter Education. Now, I think that will encompass the issues of finding what the curriculum is. I know what the content is, but checking the curriculum again and finding if it's applicable and relevant for the Kenyan context, because the environment is changing. So we cannot say that we will use the same content of that curriculum now. We have to find out the environment and scan and find, because like now we have different stakeholders who are having a great voice in issues of elections. The current uprising of the Gen Z and what they want. Is this curriculum or this content relevant for them? This is one area that I will look into it. Then the issue of how the information will reach the public, the citizens of Kenya. What kind of content? The method that will be used. What is the best method of reaching to the citizenry? Again, the election materials or the teaching of voter education materials, how are they? Are they relevant? Are they friendly? Will they have a lot of impact? Or maybe it will be a voter education and at the end it will not realize the objectives that are needed. Because to me, voter education is very key. And I think the issue of voter registration, since I've worked in management positions, leadership positions, I have that ability to oversight and maybe see whether the secretariat will be working as expected, because there's a lot of planning that is needed in even how that voter education will take place. It will not be a one-day affair, but a lot of prior planning will be needed to see to it that the citizenry is made aware of their political rights and the parts or the role that they have to play in the elections or in the electoral process. I think I've just mentioned about voter education, but I know that I've worked in various capacities, but all this can help me know how to navigate, because I believe that there must be no gap between the citizenry or the public and the secretariat or the issue of voter education. There must be there must be some consensus. I don't know, the word is not consensus, but there must be a way in which you work together to see to it that the whole concept of voter education reaches the public. Otherwise, if the citizens are not aware of how to vote, this is civic education. If they're not aware on how to go and vote on the election day, if they're not made aware that the youth can participate, because voter education is not only the issue on the last day or elections, but there's also the element of the youth participating in the elections, the minority participating, the marginalized, so that there can be an affirmative action to see to it that they all participate. I've not mentioned about my management experience. I've not mentioned about, I've just concentrated on the education part. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam, and I wish you the very best. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. I want to ask Caroline Kituku to ask you some questions. Carol, please.
Thank you, Chair. Madam, what are the legal and the structural safeguards that exist that protect IBC from external influence?
Okay. I'll mention about the Constitution of Kenya, which has highlighted the work of the IEBC or the body Independent Election Boundaries Commission, and the place that it has and the roles, and it has stipulated that how it should operate, and from the information or from the reading from the Constitution, it is supposed to be independent. It has outlined how the operation should be, right from the finances. Then there are other acts that also support to make sure that the IBC is independent, free from any other influence. We have the Political Parties Act. We have the Election Campaigning Act. I believe these are some that can make IBC forming that part of the legal framework. Thank you.
So just for clarity, you have outlined the Constitution, the Political Parties Act, and the Campaign Financing Act, if I got you right. So how do these particular laws safeguard IBCs from political or other interferences when it's performing its mandate?
Thank you, Madam Caroline. I'll say that the Political Parties Act has, to some extent, or has outlined what the work is for the political parties, actually the registrar and the operations. So it means that somehow the IEBC has particular roles which have been delegated to the political parties or the registrar of the political parties, and even the IEBC. It has IBC Act has outlined the operations, that how the IEBC should operate, right from the number of members, the operations of voter education, the mandate, etc. So any other organ besides the IEBC cannot interfere with the work of IEBC.
Thank you. I wish you well. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. I want to invite Madam Koki to ask you some questions. Koki, please.
Thank you very much, Chair. Daktari,
yes,
please tell this panel and the Kenyans watching you, if you are nominated as a member of IEBC, the specific strategic linkages you will establish or identify and ensure between voter education, voter registration, voting processes, and counting of the cast votes. Those three processes in the electoral cycle. What are the specific linkages between those four processes in the electoral cycle? Voter registration, voter education, voter registration, voting processes, and the counting of the cast votes. So just name the linkages and how you will unpackage them and highlight them to ensure we have efficiency and effectiveness in the conduct of elections.
Okay. For the voter, sorry, thank you, Madam Muli. For the voter education, the strategic linkages will be linking with CBOs within the various wards.
No, the linkages between those processes, not any person outside the processes.
Okay.
Mm.
So for me, what we'll start with, what is important to start with is voter registration is linked to voter education. But with voter registration, it will encompass or include mass voter registration, informing people that there is mass voter registration. That will be through voter education, and mobilizing people so that they know that there is voter registration through voter education. These are highly linked because we cannot have voter registration without voter education. They are all linked. So in this case, confirming or informing the media, looking for who the media is, and then at the ward level, also identifying the people who will be the ward voter educators within the wards, or that is the smallest unit in the constituency. And then in the voting processes, there is a lot of education, there is a lot of voter education, because the voters must be informed on how the voting will be actually, even before. But if I concentrate on the voting day, on the polling day, what will be there at the polling station and the process, that there will be identification of their IDs, there will be identification of the biometric voter registration, identification through that, and how they should take the ballot papers so that there aren't many spoiled votes, and that at the end they'll also have marking on the fingers on that particular day. And on the voting process, again, it is linked with the voter education, because the citizenry or the citizens of Kenya must be informed on how the expectations, on the communication of how the electoral process will be. If it is time for mass registration, then the public need to go and register as voters. And on the final issue of counting, I believe that in the polling stations, that is where counting takes place. That is the initial avenue in which the counting starts. So through the voter education, the agents, the presiding officers, the clerks need to be informed and educated on what will happen on the actual day of the counting of the votes. And that's what is expected. When the counting has been done at the polling station, then who will transmit the results, who will transmit the results, or who will send the results, maybe from the presiding officer to the constituency returning officer, to the county returning officer, and all the way up to the National Tallying Center. So all these are linked.
Thank you very much, Daktari, and all the best. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank
I want
you,
to
Chair.
ask our FCPA to ask you some questions, please.
Madam CD,
Yes.
I've seen in your documentation you were once appointed an accounting officer, which I believe you are still one.
Yes, I am.
You are. So IBC procurement processes have a lot of vulnerabilities. I believe you must be aware of what has been happening at IEBC in as far as procurement are concerned.
Yes.
So what governance interventions will you introduce if considered as a commissioner at the policy level, appreciating your role as a commissioner, not a secretariat? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tanui. A brief background is that there have been procurement issues in the IEBC, from the procurement of the KIMS kits and BVR and everything. For policy perspective, I believe that we must outline in the policy that the procurement process needs to be transparent. Then everyone in the IBC, the secretariat, they need to know that they need to be accountable of all the actions that are there. Then another policy aspect that I might introduce is the issue of ensuring that the procurement process, there's a good plan on the timelines or the time frame on how the procurement will be, right from the procurement plan, what time will it be done, as far as the overall electoral process is. Then we also must find in the policy, finding out the budget, getting to know what the budget is in good time from the parliament, so that there isn't delay, that this time has reached to procure the KIMS kit and we have not yet received the budget or the monies for the procurement. Because when that happens, then it means that that will be a problem. It will be a policy problem, and it might affect the whole of the electoral process. There is also the aspect of integrity that should be in that policy, integrity of everyone who is involved in the procurement process. Then I know what the government has done. We have the IFMIS, Integrated Financial Management Information System, whereby everything, the procurement is online. I don't know what is happening currently with the Iebc, but I believe that when the procurement process is online and everyone can see, then it means that there will be minimal challenges of maybe having some people or some of the Iebc staff or procurement officers involving in some corrupt deals. So mine will be to check what the policy is and what are the gaps in the policy and what can be made better so that the policy can realize the electoral process in a timely manner. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I wish you well. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. We invite Misati, please. Misati.
I think before I go, I think that policy will also have to identify the procurement methods, maybe from the Secretariat. This is what needs to be purchased. What type of procurement process, procurement method is suitable for that kind of purchases. So that will also have to be defined in the policy so that there isn't a confusion that like what happened now, some time back, there was direct procurement of the KIMS kit and the general public was complaining, how come it wasn't an open tender? So maybe in that policy, it should be able to specify which methods are appropriate for the type of purchases, because I know that the procurement department already knows what they purchase on yearly basis from the BVR kits, from the election materials, from the ballot boxes, and general services that are needed.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Misati?
Thanks so much, Chair. Roslyn, in trying to understand your knowledge on IPC, demonstrate your understanding of the governance issues in IPC between the commissioners and the Secretariat, and how they exercise the governance issues, particularly on human resource.
I'll start by outlining the role of the Commission very briefly. That the mandate of the IBC commissioners is oversight and strategic direction, or providing strategic leadership of how it should run, and also other aspects or the other mandates that are there, like voter education, etc. Voter education. But specifically, the IBC plays the oversight role while the Secretariat implements the decisions that are there.
Sorry to interrupt you. I'm requesting we focus ourselves to the relations between the commissioners and the Secretariat and how they report to each other in terms of human resource. Who reports to who?
Okay.
All the way.
Thank you very much. To me, the Secretariat reports to the commissioners. We have a Chief Executive Officer who is in charge of the whole Secretariat, and the CEO now reports, is a secretary is a secretary to the IEBC. Besides that, we have a number of HR officers, HR people, we have the staff, we have people who are in various committees. Then I believe there's the issue of, if it's HR, the issue of the salaries of the staff, the salaries of the commissioner. But the secretariat reports to the commissioners, to the commission, the commissioners. I don't know, it's like I've not answered that question appropriately. Let me try again. You have asked me on how the governance issues, and specifically the HR.
Yes.
And then who reports to the other. In the IEBC commission, we have the commissioners and we have the secretariat, which is headed by the CEO, who is in charge of all the staff under him, from finance, legal people, legal officers, education officers or water education officers, returning officers, constituency returning officers, right to the constituency level. We have a line of people who report to the secretariat or the chief executive officer. Now, when there are governance issues, the problem is that some have complained that the secretariat is detached from the commission. The commissioners are working in a solo manner, and the secretariat also are working in a solo manner. So this has brought confusion that who really is in charge? In charge of
Where
operations?
was that? Sorry, where was the complaint?
I've been reading in the newspapers, like some time back, we could see some CEOs who could make decisions on their own, lessen the issues of procurement. And then when it comes to the public now, the commissioners were being tasked, they said they were not aware of the procurement process. So this became a problem. Now, when it came, I think there's some instances whereby even reached to the court to determine what the problem was.
Thanks. Oh, that's what you're referring to.
Okay.
Thanks so much, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you. I want to invite Fatuma to ask some questions. Fatuma, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Madam Roslyn, how would you address a situation where the IEBC boundaries delimitation report is rejected by a section of the stakeholders? As a commissioner, what are the interventions? How would you address such a situation?
Okay. To me, I'll find out what the actual complaint is, the nature in details. Secondly, I will go to the boundaries and limitation boundaries. Procedure of how the boundaries should be delimitation. What is the rule? What is the rule? For instance, there might be a complaint that the members are few, or they should maybe in another boundary or whatever, but now that will be on what the rule is for the delimitation. Like it says that you shouldn't have 40% from the population. It's called what? The proportion, population, proportion of the national census. We get the data from the national census, then we find out that there must be a proportion. It should be 40% for cities and other areas, and should be 30% for other areas that are not sparsely populated. Now we'll go to that and find out whether, as per where they are they within that limit? Are they within that percentage? Maybe they do not know what the rule is, then I will enlighten them on what the rule is, because the issue of boundaries operate under a rule. So it's not like I want to be in this ward or in this boundary, but that will depend. Let's say if the population in that boundary or in that ward or in that constituency does not meet that number, then it means that it have to be merged with another boundary and merged. So we have to find out on the population, the proportion of the population, and the 40% and 30%, and then where do they fall? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I wish you well. Back to you, Chair.
Thank you. I invite Nicodemus Bore to ask you some questions.
Thank you, Chair. You've indicated that you worked in the county for some time.
Yes.
Daktari.
Yes, I have.
And I'm sure you are aware about the County Government Acts.
Yeah.
What leadership role is expected of an Iebc commissioner under the County Governments Act when supporting electoral activities at the county level?
I'm not very certain, because I know that the county government operates. We have the issue of how it should run.
Yeah.
And I don't see how much is much linked with the electoral process. Election of, we have the election of the governors at the county level. We have the election of the ward representative. We have the election of the senator and members of national parliament, and even the women representative.
I'm asking, what will be the link between the national office and the county leadership in terms of Iebc? What I mean by county leadership are the offices that are established by Iebc at the counties.
Okay. I think there'll be linkage with the county offices. I think the Iebc offices. I know the office is concerned with the voter registration. So maybe to me, I would say that part of the voter registration and the voter education should be at the county level, not only amongst the employees, but the general public of the citizens of Mombasa. Because, so it will be important to see to it that the citizenry is made aware of the voter registration and the whole of the electoral process, because when there's low voter turnout or when there's low voter registration, then it means it will not be good for the whole. It means that some people will not be represented. There'll be no voice from them. So it's a bit impartial. A bit impartial, so that the county government doesn't seem to be so much lining itself with the Iebc, because I think the general public is watching. Because when there's so much, then it means that the governor, people will have doubt whether he's so much or he'll gain favors from the IBC because he's always with the IBC officers. So it should just be to some extent, but not so much. Otherwise, favoritism and people may not have confidence in the IBC. It will be seen to be a bit impartial because if it is so much aligned or working with the governor, if I may say, they may think that IBC will favor the governor.
Okay. Thank you very much and wish you the best.
Thank you.
Invite our Prof, please.
Thank you, Chair. Let's go constitutional a little bit, Rosalind.
Okay.
From a constitutional standpoint, first, you know that IBC has some deficit. I'm sure you're aware of that.
Yes.
So from a constitutional standpoint, what behaviors or actions would undermine public confidence in an IEBC commissioner, and how are these addressed under Chapter 6?
Chapter 6 is about leadership and integrity. And I believe a commissioner should be a person of high integrity. This is what the Constitution stipulates. And so, again, even so, there's the issue of being professional. There's the issue of being transparent and accountable for all the actions that the commissioners take. Every step, the general public is watching. Even like now, they are watching. And they want to see what type of commissioners or the quality of the commissioners that we'll have. So I believe that free from corruption issues, high integrity of the commissioners in the way they behave, in the way they operate, being impartial and no favoritism, and being transparent and in each step of the electoral process. If it is voter education, then transparency from the voter registration. The final list of the poll register should be made public. This is transparency and accountability. With that, I believe that they will have confidence in the commissioners and in the IBC. Otherwise, if the operations are sometimes not very clear, the general public will poke holes and feel that the IBC is like the other IBCs. So I believe that the leadership and integrity part is very, very important, that people see that we are professionals, or the IBC is led by professionals, right from the commissioners and even up to the secretariat. Thank you.
Quite a number of Kenyan commentators have said that this position of IEBC commissioner is a career breaker. Why would Rosalind C.D. Randu be interested in what is being described as a career breaker?
From my perspective, indeed it is a career breaker, because it is moving away from, I'm moving away from the professional bit, from an educationist or even
Now, let me put it differently. interpretations can be different. What I meant was, we have seen commissioners being compelled to exit before the end of their tenure. We have seen commissioners abandoning their jobs when they were supposed to go and bring ballot papers. We have seen commissioners running into exile. That's what I meant, not in terms of change of career.
Okay.
Why? Given that live evidence.
Actually, I've seen it, and it is true that the previous commissioners had to exit, and some already in exile. Sometimes it's the pressure of the work and the political interference to some extent, not all the time, but to some extent, maybe at the constituency level and even to the presidential elections. But that has been a problem. And a lot of expectations, the country or the citizens have very high expectations that this should be done at this particular time. And when it fails, that becomes a problem. Again, the issue of the delay of the results, I think to me, this has been the main issue on the transmission of the results. And when the delay, the general public is waiting, there is that pressure to leave and to let everything take its course.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Prof, do you want to ask any further questions?
Sure. Rosalind Sidirandu.
Yes, Professor.
This is a segment in which we ask high school questions, and there's no better person than an educationist who is aware of high school questions. So let me start with the most basic one. Name the curriculum changes in Kenya's education system since independence.
Okay. From the independence, after the Ominde Commission, after the elaborations, we had the 7-4-2-3 system. 7 years in primary, 4 years in secondary school, 2 years in A-level, and 3 years in the university. Then during the Moi era, there was a change in the curriculum because it was fair. The research showed that the 7-4-2-3 did not make the citizens of Kenya adequate. They did not have adequate skills. So it was changed, and there was a reform to 8-4-4. That was in 1985. And then recently, now we have the CBC curriculum, 2-3-3-6-3, whereby we start with 2 years in PP, okay, like the nursery, then 3 years for grade 1, 2, 3, then it continues to more 3 years. Then we have, it's about the junior, senior school, and then this will have 3 years in the university, 2-6-3-3, whereby it concentrates on competencies of the learners instead of only skills.
Thank you. That was very easy stuff for you. Let me try another one that may not be so easy. Name 3 African capitals located on the shores of their respective coasts. 3 African capitals located on the shores of their respective coasts.
Well, I know one of the countries' capital is Moldova. Moldova.
That's in which country?
I'm not certain whether it is in Madagascar or Seychelles.
Any other? 20 seconds. Thank you, Chair.
Yes, Chairperson. Yes.
Okay. So, I want to thank you for your time. And I don't know whether you have any comment or question.
I don't have any question, but I just want to take this opportunity to thank all of you for having taken your time to listen to me in answering the questions in this interview. Thank you very much. I'm looking forward for positive results. That's what happens, quite expectant. Otherwise, I don't have much. I appreciate the way you have related, the way you have asked these questions in a very calm and friendly manner. I've not panicked. You know, sometimes you go for an interview and you panic, but you are very good. You have made the atmosphere very conducive. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate your comment. Brother at the door has your certificate, so you hand them over to you. The notebook and the pen are yours. And if you so wish to use the water also, blessings to you.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much.
Safiri salama.
Asante.
Asante. We'll take a break now. About 20 or so, 30 minutes. We'll be back at 12:15 to pick 2 candidates, and then after that we call it a day. What time do you need a prayer break? (1:30). For how long? So we'll talk about that anyway. Sawa, thank you. Sawa, but tukutane na the rest of the team, the media and the others at 12:15. Thank you. Asante.